I have spoken previously about my absolute admiration for the work of Ivor Wood. The man, in my view, was an absolute genius, working on such iconic productions as The Magic Roundabout, Wombles, Paddington, and Postman Pat, among many, many others. But there are a couple in the 1980s when he was working alongside his wife with Woodland Animations that have gone by the wayside somewhat. One which I think has just completely disappeared. It showed up on streaming a while ago, but I don't really, apart from a couple of people on Twitter, it doesn't really get talked about. That series is Bertha. What a lovely machine Bertha was. I had a VHS as a kid, which was The Flying Bear, and it was a purple cover, and I was just drawn into it by the characters that kind of resembled the world of Postman Pat. It was their style, but it was set in a factory, Spottiswood and Company. The premise itself was quite boring. It followed a group of factory workers going about their business while upstairs the people in charge were working out the various things that they had to do, coming up with new inventions and stuff. It was such a boring premise, but the thing that kind of livened it up a bit was that the machine that they worked in on the factory floor was presumably alive, and there was also a robot that was invented as well. And I love the fact that it draws upon that childhood fascination with robots and, things being alive, but it puts it in such a mundane setting. Who knew that work on the factory floor would be really interesting? Most of the characters are, like a lot of things from this era, they're stereotypes, so you know what they are. You've got the nerdy inventor type, Mr. Sprott, and the various characterizations, some of which haven't aged particularly well. But the execution of the entire thing, it almost feels like a fly on the wall thing, right? It feels so ahead of its time. I'm finding it really difficult to describe off the top of my head exactly what this show was. I tell you what I felt. I felt it was funny. I felt that the animation was pretty cool. The use of physical slapstick set pieces, something they would later go to town on a later production, Charlie Chalk. But here, with episodes such as Mouse in the Works, they showed they could do sort of slapstick style in this stop frame way. Like I said, I had a VHS as a kid, which I later got the other one, actually. And I watched that first one lots and lots of times, to the point where I memorized practically all of it. And even when I see episodes now, there was just something about the VHS, right? It had sort of its own thing going on. And as you watched, like, there were little quirks in the picture and stuff. So when I see more clean versions, it doesn't have quite the same feel, but I still love the material within it. Unfortunately, that tape went mouldy a while ago and I had to discard it. And I had bought this, which is a copy, I think, of the other tape, although there is actually a missing episode on it. I think it's mislabeled. And this has the episodes The Best Machine Competition, The Windmill, Mouse in the Works, and The Great Painting Job. I feel like The Best Machine Competition is actually something else. What's it called? More Speed, Less Work, or something like that, where they talk about time and motion study. I mean, yeah, at some point, I need to do like a recap podcast. My wife and I have talked about this for absolute years, doing a recap podcast of this show, because I cannot sit here and describe just how bizarre at times it is. The fact that it's touching upon time and motion study and hierarchy and various things. Yeah, it's kiddie in flavour, but it's all tied together nicely by the voices of Roy Kinnear and Sheila Walker. who are just incredible. You know, they are the sound of Bertha, along with the iconic theme tune as well. Bertha, lovely Bertha. The dialogue in Bertha is really interesting because, as I say, it's got that sort of fly on the wall thing going on. And what you find with some fly on the wall, especially the early ones, is that things can feel a bit stilted. And with Bertha, it is at times, like the conversations, the voice and the intonation between the characters don't always match, if you will. And I feel like that might be a production thing. It might have even been what they were going for, as I say, with like a fly on the wall thing, making it feel more realistic in a way. But if the two voice artists recorded their dialogue separately, that sometimes can lead to kind of a stilted thing because you're not feeding off the other person. But to me, that makes it even better, you know, makes it what it is. I'm hoping one day, either via Fabulous Films or another distributor, that they will do some kind of update for this DVD, because this only has 4 episodes. He said 14 episodes. I wish. Only 13 episodes were made. This only has 4 episodes. They released the complete series in Australia, I'm led to believe, but it has not arrived on these shores. I do wish that one day remaster it or put it out, whatever it is that you need to do, because, yeah, it's on streaming sometimes. It was on BritBox a while ago. It's gone now. It can be bought on Prime, but I'd love to have the physical product, because sometimes there's nothing like getting the disc out, putting it in, and just relishing in those nostalgic memories. And this is one of those shows for me. Just the feel of it. I mean, the atmosphere alone that they managed to convey, you know, as they move the camera down from the windows at the top, and then they pan it down nicely, and you hear it this week at Spottiswood and Company. Like, it just works. The sound, everything just works. And Tom is pretty cute as well. So yeah, that is the little ramble about my interest in Bertha. Release the full series, because as the few fans I've seen out there will attest to, Bertha is best.